Well, hello there, sir.
Howdy, man. I've been waiting to hear. How was it? You were one of the, what they say, 34,000 people that went to see Bernie and AOC.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you talk here for a minute, but I will tell you, I ended up finding Bernie AOC in Denver on YouTube that later that day. So I watched the whole, them speaking and part of whoever spoke before them. So I got some comments on it, but give me your point of
yeah.
view. What was it like being there?
It was good. It was good. Obviously, I was taking photos, and so I didn't I was paying as much attention as I could while trying to get the right angle in the shot and everything.
Okay.
The thing I took away from it was they were very angry. Everybody was it was a very I, I don't want to say Trump like speech, but you know how Trump just the America's messed up, everything, and
Yeah.
it was very much along the lines of like we're angry, let's get out there and fight. Like
Okay. So two things. One, I've been telling you for a while that all of this is reminding me of the Tea Party after Obama got elected, like
yeah.
2010 Tea Party-ish. Like it's totally the same vibe, which was the Tea Party was basically a grievance party. Like they're tired of letting the government do this to them, and they need politicians in there that'll actually fight for them. Like they were very upset about Obama getting elected, and that kind of grew. The Tea Party grew out of that. I feel
Yeah.
like the exact same vibes are happening now, where like it's grievance. Like the government has
Yeah.
gotten away with this long enough. Our stupid politicians aren't doing what they need to do to fight for us. We need new people in there. Like it's a
hmm
very Tea Party vibe right now.
Okay. Yeah. And even Siobhan was telling me she was like right afterwards, Siobhan from
Yeah.
episode 43 or 4 or whatever. Um, she was like, yeah, I got in this argument with this lady and I had got in an argument with these people too because I was had my camera and I like got in front of somebody and people started yelling at me at one point.
Really?
And I'm just like, I'm media, like I'm doing this and they're like yelling at me a lot. And I was just like, and
Yeah.
Siobhan had like a really good comeback to her instance, but she said, this is why the left doesn't fucking win is because we're all ripping each other's heads off.
Yeah, and that's the thing that scares me right now for the left is there's a lot of like infighting brewing. Like it's not there yet, but I read a couple things that like the Bernie AOC, like the numbers, the people they're pulling out is really frightening the establishment left. Like
hmm
the establishment Democrats are really afraid of a Bernie uprising. And there's almost been one in 2016, and then Hillary with the super delegates, like the establishment left managed to like kind of squash Bernie and get their candidate. And then in 2020, it wasn't so much the super delegates, but the establishment Dems came to the rescue, especially like Jim Clyburn in South Carolina,
The
and like
rescue, no, we should have elected Bernie.
I'm
We should have
I'm
had Bernie in there in 2016.
I'm saying it from their point of view. They came to the
Yeah,
rescue to prevent. So like they're very afraid right now because they like my thing is like okay, that's a fight. I'm willing to listen to both sides. Like should we go with a more centrist Democrat or should we go with a Bernie Democrat? I'd like to hear that debated out. But like the other side, the centrist Democrats aren't really they don't have a message right now. Like they're not saying a lot, they're not doing a whole lot and Bernie is filling the void. Like he is out there, and there's nobody. If you're on the left, there's nobody else to listen to right now except Bernie and AOC. So they have everybody's attention. Um, I'll say this. I watched this and I tried to watch it with a very open mind because I've told you before, like I don't dislike Bernie or AOC, but they're too far left for me. Like, and I
yeah,
learned
but you
here.
said that when you listen to Bernie and anytime he talks, you are very much on the exact same page as him.
Not on everything, but he makes some really good. Like he definitely pulls me over to his side a little bit more every time I listen to him. And I'll say this.
Can't wait to take our test tonight.
Okay, and then for everybody listening, all eight of you, we're gonna do a political leanings test tonight to see if I truly am still on the right or if I'm on the left. But I'll say this: I went into it with an open mind, and I was like, let me hear him out. And I honestly, I felt just like I did after Bernie went on Rogan, where I kind of my immediate reaction was, I'm down with like 80% of what they said. And like I'm never going to find anybody that I'm down with 100%. If you're out there and you're a candidate and you agree on 100% of the things, like I view that as a problem. Like that it
Sure.
shouldn't be that way. There should anyhow. Um but I told my wife and we haven't done it yet, but I told her I was like, "Hey, I just want you to listen to this, just unbiased perspective and tell me what your thoughts are. Just kind of want to hear kind of what she would say about it." But I saw no problem with most of what they saw. The one thing I had to remind myself afterward is like, okay, where's all that money coming from? How much would that raise our taxes? Like little stuff like that, where like
Sure.
he might have a great plan and all that, but I'd love to hear him almost go up against a Republican and like have all the things he's saying challenged. How are you going to do this? How are you going to pay for it? And like, I want to hear his
Yeah.
answer. And that's the only thing is in a rally setting, just like in a Trump speech where he tells you all the fantastic things he's going to do for the country. Anybody skeptically would look at it and go, okay, how are you going to do that? Or, where is that money coming from? Whatever it is, same questions for Bernie. But the biggest thing I took
Yeah.
away was Bernie and AOC and the far left have really failed in one department, and that is they've let everybody else define who they are. Fox News, the centrist Democrats are just as guilty, but they paint this picture of, oh no, no, they're radical, far left,
Hmm.
socialist. And then you hear them talk and you're like, hey, they're not near as bad as what I thought they were.
No. Right.
Again, it I wouldn't say utopian is the right word here, but it's a lot. Oftentimes, it's like, well, I think that we should live in a world where nobody's poor and blah blah blah. It's like that's a utopian society. How are you going to do that? Where's that money coming from? It's not realistic. So, but some of the things, like, hey, basic things like you should be able to afford to send your kid to college. Like, even if you don't have a great job, your kid should be able to get 4 years of college, and you shouldn't have to be paying it off for the next 3 decades or whatever it is.
Yep.
Um, Medical bills should not bankrupt you. Like little
Yeah.
things like that. I think that almost all of America would be.
Everybody should have food on their plate.
Yeah, like I said, most of these things, most of America would hear the statement and go, "Yeah, that makes sense." And then you can get into an argument of how would we make it happen? How would we pay for it? But just in general, they have done a terrible job because somehow they've allowed, and I don't know if they've allowed it or if it's just happened, but the other side has defined them. And when I say the other side, I mean Fox and MSNBC, like the establishment left. Like they've kind of joined forces to make Bernie look like a wacko.
Yeah.
If you hear him, like I said, he says a lot of shit that sounds good. And it really, what it comes down to, I hate to be a broken record, but it comes down to, okay, how are we paying for that? If you can tell me how we're paying for it and it seems fair, I'm all on board. So,
Well, we talked about messaging last time, and it's the
mhm.
right really does have a stronghold on messaging. I mean, I was just talking to my dad, and again, he comes out of left field. He thinks Elon is like trying to do the best for the country, and like it's like, what are you watching? What are you listening to? Like, I'm sick
Yeah.
of this. Like, and we've talked about this before, where it's like we get in these like conversations, arguments, whatever with right-leaning people, and like I am bringing the facts. Let's just say it's over the economy.
Yeah.
Like I'm listening to maybe not necessarily the economists who spend 40 hours a week studying and working on on economic things, but I'm listening to somebody who's paying attention to them, right? And I'm getting all like the facts. Numbers don't lie, the facts. But for some reason, the right has a complete other book full of facts, mind full
You
of
know what those are
facts,
called?
alternative facts. They
Yes.
have alternative facts. Jesus.
So let me just say
And
this real quick.
hold on. Let me finish my rant here. And the thing, and that's fine. It's fine. I can be like, okay, you're crazy, you're an idiot. But the way they look at me is like I've been taken over by the woke mind virus.
Yeah.
And I'm the crazy one here. But I'm looking at I'm getting the actual numbers. Like I can go on the US Records Report website for whatever and look at the numbers, and I have the actual numbers, but I'm the crazy one for bringing it up and saying that
Yeah.
Trump is lying to you.
Well, and even if you show them like, hey, here it is directly on this US archive website, they could say, oh, well, the government just lies. And it's like, okay, so like, but that's the thing is Kellyanne Conway way back in like 2017 brought up the whole, and that was, if you think about how early that was in the first Trump term, they were talking about his inauguration and the fact that he said it was the most amount of people ever there. And
Yeah.
this was 3 or 4 days into Trump won, and that's when Kellyanne Conway brought out alternative facts. And we
Yeah.
all we all laughed at her and said how foolish and how stupid that is. But like she was forecasting what we had in our future because now we do totally there's different facts on each side. And I'm not trying to be a buzzkill here, but there are certain things where the left has a set of facts that might not be the real facts, but they're in an information bubble and they can do the same thing to a degree. Me trying to be an independent, I will say it's more common on the right, but there are some times where the left will get real worked up on something and it's like that's not accurate. It's just not. But they've worked themselves into this frenzy. And even when they
Yeah.
find out, even when they find out there's some conclusive evidence that, hey, what you guys have thought is not true, they'll kind of refuse to believe it, just like the right will. Like I said, I do feel like the right does it more, but I think both sides are guilty of it.
Yeah, but I mean, like the scientific stuff. That's the thing
Yeah.
that really drives me nuts. And the right is just trying to get rid of all the science.
Well, you
Like,
can't trust scientists, doctors, or the government, man.
it's so
You
crazy.
can trust certain police. It depends on the situation, whether or not
We
law
can
enforcement's good.
we can
That's what I.
only trust Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's it.
Donald Trump doesn't lie to us. Real quick. So
30,000 lies in his first term.
yeah, okay. So real quick, before I can even get into that, there's one big breaking story of the day. Okay, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but before we can get into it, I got one video I want to show you real quick.
Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore.
So you can guess where this is
Not
heading.
anymore.
Yeah, you can guess where this is heading. So we had our first big national security screw up of the Trump term. Okay, we talked about it last time, but we're bombing Yemen now, right? That just started.
Oh yeah.
It started March 14th or 15th, actually. I know that from the story I saw all day today.
Hmm.
But so the
I thought
editor,
we weren't supposed to go to war with anybody. I thought
no
Trump
new
was the peacetime president.
no
No new
new
wars.
wars, no new wars. Okay, but when you're
Okay.
bombing the Houthis, you can't even really call that. We're bombing a group of rebels that has no way to really attack us. So we're just bombing a group.
Following randomly
Yeah,
people.
which
Yeah.
I'll say this, ever since we started bombing them, they're like, we're ready to escalate this. And I'm even looking at it like, what do you mean escalate it? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you have no way of striking it. Anyhow, um, the editor of there's a publication called The Atlantic. I don't read it ever, but the editor of it's named Jeremy Goldberg. And 2 weeks before the strike started, so right around the 1st of March, he suddenly is added to a new text chain in an app called Signals. Do you know anything about Signals?
Yeah.
Signal, I guess. So I've never used Signal, but from what I know of it, it's like the encrypted app, and it like deletes the messages after they go through. And if you want to do some shit that you don't want to get caught doing, you do it on Signal. It's from the way I gather it.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Maybe.
I have no. I should have looked. I don't know who owns Signal. I know nothing about it.
It's probably a Chinese owned
Probably,
company.
yeah. I don't trust anything that you're typing and sending. Period, but they
Yeah.
say Signals is the secure one. So all of a sudden he gets added to a new text thread in Signal, and he takes a look, and I guess you just tap at the top, and it shows you who all's in this. And there's 18 people in this text thread. Okay, the text thread was started by Mike Waltz, the national security advisor. It had Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, I think he is, had Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, had the Vice President, Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. It did not have Trump, but 18 people overall. It's what they call the PCs, the Principals Group. So, like
Yeah.
the head of heads of our security and defense. Okay. As soon as this text thread starts, he realizes, oh my God, I shouldn't be in this thread. I've been added by mistake, and they're discussing war plans to go to
Yeah.
war to go to war and start bombing Yemen. And he says nothing. He sits there for 2 weeks and watches this. And during these 2 weeks, they were texting all kinds of stuff back and forth. At one point,
Is he
Hegseth said
screenshotting this at all, or is he just watching
he
it?
so he screenshotted a bunch of it, and he purposely he finally wrote his article today, and he did not include anything that would be national security risk, but he included some just embarrassing things. So yeah, there's screenshots of all of it. First of all, in any past administration, the way that this would go down is that they would call a meeting of the PCs, the principals group, and bring them into the White House, and there's a skiff. You ever heard the word skiff? I don't
Hmm.
know what it stands for, but secure something. It's where they have a meeting and like no cell phones are allowed in there. Like when you go into a
No.
skiff, you leave your cell phone in a box outside. You go in, they've made sure the room isn't bugged. It's secure. This is where we talk about this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so no skiff here. I'm going to say this for an administration that really hates working remotely, the whole like, we got to bring the workers back. They pretty much did this war plan remotely. Like, there's no need on bringing everybody into the office. Let's just do it over text, is what they did.
Yeah.
Okay. So get back to work,
So,
administration.
okay. So yeah, there's another default. Plus, I'm pretty sure like all those people that you listed off, like even Rubio
Rubio's in
and
it. Yeah.
and all these people that were in this text thread were like adamantly opposed to Hillary Clinton's emails.
Oh boy. These are all the people that have been going on and on about Hillary's emails. And anyhow, so yes,
How insecure that was, and yeah.
they're very big on security of classified information. Okay. Unless Trump does it, or now in this case, unless they all do it. So, like I said, Goldberg, all the editor of the Atlantic, Jeremy Goldberg, he thought this was fake for 2 weeks. He thought it was honest. So he said he thought it was Project Veritas. I don't know if you know who they are, but that's James O'Keefe, and they're the ones that do like hidden camera stings, and then like supposedly they deceptively edit the video. I have no clue if they do, but they do stings on Democrats all the time. So
Okay.
he honestly was like, "There's no way that anybody's this stupid. So this is like a Project Veritas sting, and I don't want to say anything or do anything to get caught." So he just sat back and screenshotted it, and didn't say anything for 2 weeks until like there was a text from Hegseth that was like, "All right, we're good to go. It's happening in 2 hours." And then in 2 hours, reports on the news that bombs are falling, and that's when he realized, "Oh my God." I've legit been in the planning for this new war we've just started. Like up until that point, he thought it was a sting or something. He wasn't buying it.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, first of all, this could totally be a violation of the Espionage Act or just how you handle classified information. In any normal administration, at least one head would roll from this. It would be investigations out the butt. To
Yeah.
me, somebody's got to get fired. And the scary thing about this is, first of all, nobody of the 18 people said, "Hey, should we be doing this through Signal? Like, this is like, we shouldn't be doing this," which would lead you to believe that what apparently there's probably a lot of different threads on Signal right now. Like, if they're doing war
Sure.
planning on Signal, they're also doing the other stuff. And
Oh yeah.
the reason that you would do it on Signal is corrupt as heck because it all comes down to intent. Like, was a crime committed? What's the intent? Like, you do it on Signal so there's no paper trail of it. Normally, there's a I can't think of the name of it, but it's any communication by government employees is archived in case there's an investigation later, and like they have to
Sure.
archive all their emails and all this. So they're using Signal intentionally so that this will never be archived. This will never see the light of day. Which
Well,
right
who else
there,
got invited to this thing that was like not supposed to be there?
I don't know. So
And,
the editor was able to tap on it and see all 18 people, and he knew that he had the people in his phone, so he knew who most of them
uh,
were. There were a couple wild cards. He didn't know who they were. What's interesting, and this is a total side note, is people have already put it together that like, hey, why did Mike Waltz have this journalist in his contacts? Well, if you go back and look at some of the articles the Atlantic has written, they've looked bad for Rubio or looked bad for Tulsi. Like the one person they never look bad for is him. So it
oh,
appears he's been leaking to this guy probably I don't know how long, just since Trump or maybe before.
oh.
But like this is the guy he goes to if he wants to get a story out to make somebody else around him look bad, but
So
not him.
Waltz is his guy, his inside guy.
So yeah, that's what
Could
people
be.
are starting to put together. The Atlantic doesn't write negative stories about Waltz, only all the people around him. So it's easy to look at it
Interesting.
and go, oh, so he's been leaking shit to this guy.
Except for this one. Like, so
Yeah,
this might be Waltz head roll.
the
Head
you
rolling.
like again, there would be investigations immediately and people would get fired for this, but it's not going to happen. The JD Vance was the only one in the thread to argue against bombing the Houthi rebels, and
Oh,
he actually made some good points. And he said, "Hey, this goes against what the president has been saying about no new wars, not getting involved in other conflicts, so we
yeah.
shouldn't do this." And then he also pointed out that only 3% of the world's trade goes through the Strait. I don't know, it's the Strait of something is where they are attacking shipping. And he was like, "Hey, that's virtually 3%. Virtually none of the trade goes through there. It doesn't really matter." And the president has said no new wars, so why are we doing this? He then
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I get it. If this is the if the vote basically if the group decides to go this way, I will be a good soldier and I will not complain and I'll go along with it. But I'm just saying." So that's he was the one that tried to push back.
Huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Um,
Did you see that they sent his wife to where did they send her?
They sent her to
Greenland?
Greenland
Yeah.
to be there for some historic dog sled race, and apparently the prime minister of Greenland is upset about it. They're like, "No, we don't want her here." And then Trump, I think it was just today or yesterday, said, "No, there's people there that invited her." And it's like, okay, I'm sure there was one or two people there that Trump got in good with that invited her, but the government does not want her there. So that's a
Yeah.
separate
Why
thing.
would you send her there anyway? Like, why not somebody
Because
within the administration?
she so far is the most likable person between anybody in that administration. She hasn't said anything to be a troll or mean, or she seems nice. So
Yeah.
I think they were thinking, let's send her. They won't attack her, and they've been very vocal that they do not want her there. Anyhow, back to the Houthi bombings. John Radcliffe, he actually texted the current intelligence assessment, which is like the highest level of classification. And he texted that to all 18 people on the group, including this reporter. Um,
Hmm.
Hegseth at one point said, hey, if this were to leak, we'd look indecisive. So we just need to make up our damn minds. So it's kind of funny that he even said, hey, what if this leaks? We wouldn't look good here. And then it leaked anyway. I'm trying to think here. After the bombing, Mike Waltz and Steve Witkoff, who's like the president's special envoy to Israel and Russia, no clue why he's involved in this thread. He was supposed to be the special envoy to Russia, and then he became the special envoy to Russia and Israel. And for some reason, he's now involved in the Yemen thing, I guess. Um, anyhow, they both. This is just kind of fourth grade girlish. After the bombing started, they were texting emojis, and it was like two biceps flexing, and then an American flag, and like the prayer hands. Like anyhow,
Oh
this is
yeah, let's do the pray. Let's pray
yeah.
for
This
the dead people that we just killed.
This
Okay.
is where we are. And right before the bombing, Hegseth texted the group that we are currently clean on OPSEC, which means operational security, which is hysterical because he was saying, "Hey, we're clean on OPSEC," when there's a fucking reporter on the on the group chat that he doesn't know about. So they were not clean on OPSEC, but he made that statement to everybody. He basically said, "We're clean on OPSEC. It's time to go. You know, they don't know we're coming. Let's do it." And this
What a
reporter is watching.
joke. What a freaking joke this is.
It's a clown show. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, like I said, violation of the Espionage Act and properly handling classified info. Some crimes have been committed here. The only thing is, the Trump DOJ, I think, is the only person that could really launch an investigation here, and there's no way they're gonna. Nothing is gonna happen from this. Like I'm watching tonight on the news, and people are like, "Oh, somebody's gonna get fired for this." No, I'm telling you right now, it's not gonna happen. And then Trump was not on the text. Now, this goes back years. Apparently, like Trump is never on an email, he's never on a call. Like there's movies about the mob where like the head mob guy doesn't have a phone, like and somebody comes up and whispers into his ear and that keeps him clean to where he's not connected.
Yeah.
Trump has lived his life that way for like the last 20 years. Like he doesn't do written correspondence. Anyhow, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, was involved. So you got to believe that that's how Trump is getting the info. Now, he was smart and he left himself totally clean on this. He wasn't in the thread. And real quick, he has made a comment about how this goes. Let's check this out real quick. I think it's from Fox. Yeah, this is going to be from Fox.
To the story in the Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
with the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
You're telling me about it for the first time. I like how they cut to the guy, and the guy in front of him was just
Yeah.
like seriously? Like what? Like you don't know anything about yeah, right. Okay.
So I've learned that one tell of Trump's is when he says, you know, you're telling me about this for the first time. Whenever he says that phrase, that's the immediate bullshit. Like that's when supposedly he didn't know that RBG had died. Oh, wow, you're telling me for the first time. Like anytime I hear him say that, I'm like, no, like there's no way you got off stage and people didn't tell you that immediately. So and it's smart for him because he's plausible deniability. I know nothing about it. I knew nothing about it. If these guys were doing that on now, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in greater detail, but like if they planned all this behind his back and he knew nothing about it, that's worrying. Like they talked about Biden not really being the head and people were doing things under him that he knew nothing about. All 18 of his PCs got together and planned this and he knew nothing about it. If that happened, that's a constitutional issue. But anyhow, and then the other thing that was kind of bad from it, it turned out that they were all talking shit about Europe throughout pretty much the whole text thread, talking about how
What?
one of them basically said that they were basically having to step in and take care of Europe's problems again because they can't do it, and they were all talking about Europe freeloading off of them. So Europe,
What problems?
well, because the Houthis are destroying shipping and it's over on their continent, I guess. I don't know. Here, hold on. Where it gets fun is they think this.
I thought this was part of aren't they trying to prevent Israel from getting something? Is that okay?
Yes. So
Okay.
they a while back they started attacking shipping and whatever this strait. There's a strait right in front of them that a lot of shipping has to go through. It gets into the Red Sea, I believe, and then up the canal, the Suez Canal. Anyhow, it's that part of the world.
Why isn't Israel just taking care of this on their
Hold
own?
on.
Like, okay.
And that's the thing is they are taking care of Israel's problem right here because what happened was um, when Israel started like attacking Gaza and bombing it indiscriminately, that's when they started attacking shipping, and they said we'll stop attacking shipping when Israel stops bombing the hell out of Gaza. Israel stopped, and they stopped also, and we were clean for a couple months there where nothing was happening. And then as soon as Israel has now reignited the war on Gaza and blowing everything up, now they've started attacking shipping again. The U.S. is the primary backer of Israel. So they were doing this whole like, yeah, we're taking care of this for Europe. Not really. I mean, this is a Israel slash U.S. backed problem that we're having to deal with here. So
So,
anyhow,
so Europe is shipping stuff to Israel. Is that the case?
no, so it that's a shipping lane. Like stuff that's coming from Asia has to go around through the sea of I can't remember any of those seas over there. Anyhow,
It's
that's
going to Israel.
no going to Europe. Like it's stuff
Oh,
going to Europe.
from
It's not,
Israel to Europe.
yeah,
Okay.
but that's the only thing the Houthis can do. The Houthis are trying to do something to get the bombing to stop. So they're like, we're going to attack all the shipping that comes across here,
Okay.
and until they stop. So that's kind of their deal.
Okay.
It makes
Hmm.
sense, and not really. It doesn't make sense, but that's what they're trying to do. So,
Yeah.
and then on Israel, real quick, and I don't want to talk a lot about Israel tonight, but they're preparing for a new ground invasion into Gaza. We're officially not going to have a stage two. Steve Witkoff, who has been dealing with all the peace negotiations everywhere for Trump, he was on Tucker Carlson maybe in the last week. He's also been on a lot of other media, and it sounds like he's kind of been red pilled. Like at first, a couple weeks ago, he was like, "Hey, I'm dealing with Hamas. Like they're not bad guys. Like they want the same thing." And he was kind of Israel
Hmm.
got pissed about that. And he even said,
Oh,
"We're not." He said, "We're not beholden to Israel," and Israel got pissed about that. His
oh,
tune his
good.
tune has changed dramatically. Somebody had a talking with
Who is
him.
this?
Steve Witkoff. He's a billionaire real estate guy that Trump
Oh,
tapped.
good.
You know what? I think I got it backward earlier. I think he tapped him to be the one that was going to broker peace in Israel between Israel and Gaza first, and then added on Ukraine and Russia at a certain point. And now he's doing both of those. But he's just a billionaire friend of Trump's that apparently has connections all over the world, and that's why he's good at this, supposedly.
Like,
It,
why is a billionaire doing that? Like, it seems like a dangerous job for a billionaire just to step in and try to broker peace deals with two countries at war.
yeah, I mean, you'd think we'd have like teams of smart national security people that have analyzed the region for years.
Can
Not the
speak the
way
languages. Like,
Not the way Trump's doing it, man. So that's where we're at. There's no arguing at this point. That's where we're at. But Witkoff, he's turned now and he's totally just kind of pro-Israel on everything. It turns out, and Ryan Grimm, I'm going to keep talking about how great this guy is. He's one of the guys from Breaking Points, but I've been reading all of his stuff recently. And it turns out the reason we never reached phase two of the deal, and I don't know if you remember, but I told you during the ceasefire, there's no way this was getting to phase two. And it was just a hunch I had, but now after reading Ryan Grimm, it makes sense. Bibi Netanyahu, the way their government's formed over there, they have way more than two political parties. So whoever wins, they have to be able to form a coalition government. So you have to get a couple different parties to agree to get together and vote together. The parties that he's aligned himself with are the parties that are further right than him, and like they were really mad about a ceasefire in general. Like they want to destroy Gaza, and
oh,
basically he needed two things. He needed an investigation into most of his cabinet dropped because it turns out most of his cabinet was on the take. He needed that dropped, and he needs to pass a new budget this month. And without them being on his side, there's no way it was going to get through. And basically, in order to get back in their good graces, he started attacking Gaza again and blew up the deal. Now they're happy with him, and he's going to get what he wants.
oh,
But I got good news. They're being way more surgical in their strikes in Gaza. Okay, they
oh,
got one of them
good.
on video. I don't know if you've seen. There was a surgical strike to take out a Hamas leader, and probably didn't get any civilians in the process. Here, take a look at this real quick.
Oh, so you mean they just blew up their tent cities?
They blew up several tents there. That video got out the other day, and that's a refugee camp of people whose homes have already been destroyed and they've been moved around Gaza so much. So there's people
I
in
think all
every
those
one of
tents
those
were
tents
destroyed.
there.
All those tents are
Now,
gone.
now Israel came out afterward and defended it and said they had damn near absolute certainty that there was a high value target from Hamas in one of those tents. They don't know which
Well, then why
one.
didn't they go in and get him?
They don't
Go
know
in and
which
get him.
one, and they didn't really have any info on who was in all the other tents. They just said, "Hey, it was worth it because we got one." I don't like that's this. I tried. I tried. You back in the beginning of this, me and you were on at different sides of this because I was telling you, "Hey, Israel can't go in and go, house to house fighting. Targeted bombings is really the safest." I was I was willing to give Israel the benefit of the doubt. You can't see videos like that and still be like, oh, well, at least they're trying to minimize civilian casualty. Like, no, they just blew up a tent village refugee camp. Like,
Well, the one that got me was like the two guys that were walking away with like their hands up, and like
mm,
I think it was the other guy was in a helicopter or somebody. Like it might have been a drone shot, but somebody shot him in the back of the head. Just
what,
both the guys, like
dude?
with their hands up, waving a white flag. I think they had in their hand.
They
And I was
killed
just
two.
like, oh, well, that's it.
They killed
That's
two journalists today, within like 2 hours of each other, and they were
oh,
both in what was supposed to be like a safe zone where journalists are free to go because there's not attacks,
yeah,
and they blew them up. I'm watching videos. I watch a lot of videos from like the Ukraine conflict, and I'm watching these little bitty drones fly up and like basically fly into somebody's chest and blow up. And it's a pretty small, like maybe if there were people right next to them, they would have died too, but it's a small explosion and it seems to work.
yeah.
How come Ukraine is doing this with little drones and Israel? Like, I gotta believe there was a more pinpoint way to get that one guy than blowing up and like, I'm not trying to be ridiculous here, but like, how many women and children died in that one blast right there? Like, that's ridiculous. Like
I mean,
they,
let's just look at those tents. Those tents are probably like six people. I mean, they probably cramming people in there. So there's probably 8 to 10 people in each of those tents. And from what I can see, it keeps going. So there's at least like 50 tents.
you know, Bill Burr. I'm gonna try to liven this up for a second. Bill Burr's new special came out, and I got to see it over the last weekend. And he has a part where he talks about, Israel's like, well, they're using human shields. And it's like, well, you got to work around that. If I'm mad at somebody and he's holding a baby, I don't get to punch him through the baby. And like to me, I was just like, well said, Bill Burr. But like
Yeah.
for real, Israel, what are we doing? So anyhow, phase two is not happening. Where there's a ground invasion coming. Get ready. It's going to be all kinds of fun. But we'll go to other fun news. I got more for us. Okay, so the other fun stuff, real quick. First of all, I heard a great quote today that I just want to throw out for the audience of eight. Those who sacrifice liberties for security often get neither. I'm gonna go back to that a bunch here because we're happily the right is happily saying like we can violate the First Amendment a little bit if it means securing the country or whatever. And oftentimes the government will convince us, like after 9/11, the government had a whole bunch, the Patriot Act and all that, where they wanted to be able to look into emails and they said it's for our safety. And they had to work at it a little bit. They had to convince us. But after a while, people kind of begrudgingly went along with it. This
Yeah.
is weird because this time they're not really even trying to do much convincing. And a good half of the country is just like, yeah, we're cool with this. Just whatever. Free speech means very little. Deport people without due process. It's fine.
Yeah.
The Trump administration had another hearing today about the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Apparently, they didn't give up all the info, and it just came out tonight that they invoked what they call the state secrets privilege, which is basically, sorry, judge, we don't have to tell you because this is top secret and you don't get to know.
Oh,
So I don't know how that's going to go. I saw that just before we started recording, and I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know if something tells me the judge won't stand for that, but I don't really know how that's going to go.
did you that there's like a giant law firm that went and bent the knee to Trump and they're giving him like $40 million worth of legal
Yeah, which
because they
they said that at first they were going to resist, and they were hoping that other law firms were going to kind of rally around them in the name of what's right, and instead, this is sickening. Instead of anybody kind of rallying to support them, quickly the other law firms started trying to poach their clients, started calling their clients saying, "Hey, your law firm's caught up with the president. They're in bad. You need to come over with us." So they started, and they had as an act of self-preservation, they had to go ahead and do what they could do to get out of it because they were going to lose all their clients. Which, like, they're lawyers, so did we expect anything better, I guess? But like you would think that that's a time where the lawyers, even this is going back weeks now, but when the White House kicked the Huffington Post and somebody else out of The press,
Yeah.
the White House gaggles, the pools.
The media didn't stand up to that.
The media should have banded together, in my opinion, but they're all looking at to do what's best, and it's about ratings. And if Huffington Post isn't in there, then maybe we'll get their share of the audience, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So scary that nobody's standing up, but yeah, I saw that. And then there was one of the five that this lawsuit originally started over was a guy who is a gay hairdresser. Don't have any problem with him being gay. I'm just saying that because it helps paint a picture here. I've seen a bunch of pictures and videos of this guy. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he was not Trende Aragua at all. Yeah. No way, no how. Just take my word on it. I don't want to pull videos up and try to make fun of the guy, but definitely not a gang member. He's down. He got sent down to this prison with no due process. Turns out he is the one that they've gotten out of there already. Like I guess enough evidence came forward. Supposedly he is not there anymore. Now they're not.
I thought he was dead. I thought he was going to be gone. Like
they're not sure. They're not sure where he is, and they think that he got sent back to Venezuela instead. Once they realized they couldn't have him there, they just deported him to Venezuela. Which he was here legally. He was here on a protected status. Like he should have gotten due process before getting kicked out. But at least he's not in that prison anymore. Now, apparently, being gay in Venezuela is also not super great. That's why he came here. But
his face is plastered all over the news.
Yeah, everybody knows about him. So, and when you get deported back, you get handed back to the government, who he fled the government for good reasons, I'm sure. So he's probably in a prison in Venezuela now, but he's not at that torture camp. So
yeah.
Anyhow, so I guess that's kind of a win. And then,
I mean, have you seen the way they treat those people at that torture camp?
The videos where they march them. They don't even let them walk in. They have them like hunched over and held down, and then they put them on their knees and shave all their hair. And it doesn't look like a fun place. And it's known for being a terrible place for inmates. And that's one of the reasons I think we wanted to put them there. Now, I will go back and say, if we could make sure that it's all Trende Aragua or MS-13 or whatever, then I say send them there. And if they're gang members and they've done horrible stuff, send them there. I have no problem with it. But we need to make sure that everybody being sent there is really like meets that criteria. And based off the 5 we know about, I'm going to say there's a chance there might be others that maybe don't belong there. So but if they could guarantee me, and the way you would do that would be through some kind of a hearing, through due process is how you would guarantee that. But then I think almost every American would say, yeah, get them out of here. Kick them out right now. That's totally fine. Let me see. We're going to go back to something I played earlier. But did you see how Trump responded to questioning about all this, the Alien Enemies Act, which the Alien Enemies Act is something that Trump signed into law, supposedly signed. And then he tweeted about it saying, I have just signed the Alien Enemies Act and we're deporting these people. And then like 2 hours later, they had him on a plane ready to go. So this was all well coordinated. So they asked Trump about how the court case was going. I can't remember the exact question. Here is Trump's response.
This judge who the DOJ is arguing with today about the deportation flights. He wants to know why the proclamation was signed in the dark, his words, and why people were rushed onto planes.
Because we want to get criminals out of our country, number one, and I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled it, but Marco Rubio's done a great job, and he wanted them out, and we go along with that. We want to get criminals out of our country.
Just throwing Marco Rubio under the bus there, huh?
Yeah, well, and he said I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. It was released as an executive order or presidential proclamation. I can't remember which one, but they tweeted that I have just signed, blah, blah, blah. And his first thing he said, I don't know when it was signed because I didn't sign it. Other people handled that. Let's back up real quick. There was this whole thing just in the last week or two about Biden using auto pen supposedly to sign things. Yeah. And Trump was upset about that. Trump just said, I didn't sign it. Other people handled that. So, hold on, whoa. Did they use auto pen? Did Trump sign it? Did Trump know about it? Or
somebody sign it for him?
Most likely, Trump signed it, but now he's trying to play dumb and act like he doesn't know about it, which seems to be par for the course. But if we're going to take Trump at his word on this, okay, we just had I don't want to call it a new war. Let's call it a new military operation opened up in a foreign country of Yemen, okay? We just had that opened up where 18 of the people directly underneath him got together and discussed this and came up with a plan and decided when to do it. And they supposedly did it all without Trump's knowledge. If you believe him, he knew nothing about it. Okay.
Right.
Now, on top of that, they went ahead and invoked a wartime policy, the Alien Enemies Act, which is only supposed to come up when we're either at war or we've been invaded. They invoked that without his knowledge, without him signing it. Like, if he's telling the truth, which I've never known Trump to not tell the truth, Docs, and you
Well,
know
war has to go through Congress.
well, it's an invasion, so I don't know. He called it an invasion. But have you ever known Trump to lie? Because I sure as heck can't think of a time that he's lied. So on that
Except for
front,
the 30,000 times during his first
I was going to say, if we take him at his
first
word,
term.
it seems that there's a lot going on that he doesn't know about, which is a little scary. Now, again, I don't buy that for a second. But if this were Biden saying, I knew nothing about these two different things that happened, the right would be jumping all over that. So is it time? I mean, do we have a talk about, is Trump all there mentally? Is he, is the people under him doing stuff without his knowledge? Why would they be doing that?
He knows. He knows. He did it. I mean, he signed it. He tweeted it. He signed it. He tweeted it. He knows everything.
But what if he didn't tweet it? What if he didn't sign it? He didn't tweet it. What if he was golfing and they did it all while he was golfing?
Okay. I mean,
what if
what's
he's
the
okay
difference?
with it? What if he's like, yeah, do whatever. I
Yeah.
trust y'all, do whatever. But still, that's not the way this is supposed to work. Now, the one last video I have for tonight that I feel like could shine a little light on Trump's mental faculties at the moment. Is he all there?
Yeah.
Check out this last clip of the night. This is Trump with Laura Ingraham from last week.
Is Barron's aptitude, in your view, business or politics?
Maybe technology. He can look at a computer. I try turning off his car, turn it off. I turn off his laptop. I said, oh, good. And I go back 5 minutes later, he's got his laptop. I said, how'd you do that? None of your business, Dad. No, he's got an unbelievable aptitude in technology.
First of all, I don't think Trump knows how to turn off a laptop.
He's amazed that Barron was able to turn it back on. That's hysterical to me. Now, that could just be, what is he, 79 right now? I think he's 79 or something like that. So he's a 79-year-old man, but he's sitting there, he's like, he's so smart. I turned off his computer. I go back 5 minutes later,
Wait, this is recent? Because Barron's in college, right?
This was a week ago. This was
Barron's
last
in
week.
college.
I know. And Trump is amazed that his college son.
Why is he turning off his son's laptop?
Okay. So again, if we just take this story at face value, what? Like this man has the nuclear codes, and that's scary. Or Trump's just BSing a story because, like you say, Barron's in college now, and also I don't believe that Trump knows how to turn off a laptop. I don't think there's any way he would walk over and go, Barron, get off that laptop, and then do a proper shutdown. 0% chance that that's ever happened. So I think the story is all just made up. But to me, again,
closes the lid and he's like, hey, it's off.
It makes me wonder how much he talks to his kid. Because if you say like, oh, what do you think your son's going to be? And all you can come up with, he's pretty smart. He knows them laptops. I turned his off, and 5 minutes later, he had it right back on. It sounds
Have
like
we
a
ever
story.
actually heard Barron talk?
I don't think so. So here's the thing. Apparently, it's not true, but there was a rumor going around in the first term that Barron was, I'm going to try to say this right, Cajun or special needs.
Okay.
That was there was a theory, but that's why they were protecting him. It turns out, by several accounts, he's not, and his mom just didn't want him to suffer the harassment of being the president's son, which I get that. So if that's the case, if they were just truly protecting him to keep him from getting bullied or whatever, I have no problem with that. But according to reports, he is not special needs. But that was a theory for a while because of the fact that he kind of never said anything, and he always has an awkward look. He's going to be an interesting kid. Like when we finally start hearing from him, I have a feeling it's going to be very interesting. He's going to be like the new Trump. Like I think they're grooming him for take over one day. So get ready.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyhow, real quick, sticking on the theme of illegal aliens, the IRS is nearing a deal to work with ICE to use taxpayer data to locate illegal immigrants. I'm going to make this real quick, but it's kind of a good racket the government has going, because if you're an illegal immigrant, you shouldn't be here. You can still get a tax ID number. And the IRS has been open for a long time, especially in 2013. They basically came out with a big policy just stating that flat out. But it's like, hey, if you're here illegally, go ahead and get a tax number. We're not going to share your info with ICE or Homeland Security, and pay into taxes because it's the right thing to do. And one day, if you try to get citizenship and you show that, hey, you've been paying your taxes the whole time you've been here, it'll probably help you get your citizenship. So a lot of illegals still pay taxes. In fact, apparently the majority of them still pay taxes, and they actually even still pay into Social Security, and they are not able to withdraw that. So they're just helping Social Security out. Okay. Um,
What percentage of illegals pay taxes?
I don't know. Search it.
Um,
From what I saw today, apparently a lot of them have tax ID numbers and pay taxes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Subject to didn't come up immediately. Oh, undocumented immigrants can contribute 8.5 billion in California taxes a year.
Yeah. Like
Huh.
I said, they pay into
Wow.
taxes, and that's kind of it's always been a deal where, hey, go ahead and pay your taxes, and we're not going to give this info to ICE.
That's
Now,
10% of what they're cutting out of Medicaid,
yeah. So now,
just in California.
so hear me now. If they do get this deal worked out, which it looks like I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. If you're an illegal now, it would be smart to stop paying taxes. It said just stop
Yeah.
altogether. So we're going to get what they call a shadow economy, where there's going to be a lot of immigrants working for cash, not paying taxes. It's going to lower the amount of income coming into the United States government. They're trying to lower the deficit, and while doing this, they're going to lower the amount of money coming in, which is not helping what they're trying to do. But just seems like kind of a dumb move, and it's all because I think Trump, he's still taking crap because apparently they still aren't deporting on the same number as Biden or Obama were. Like they're really
Yeah.
not removing that many people per
And they're
day.
deporting people who are legal
Make,
citizens of the United States.
and that's why. So he just the other day took away the because there was a protected status for like Cubans, Haitians, Venezuelans, and he took that all away. So there's a lot of people that are here legally that in one swipe of the pen suddenly are not here legal anymore. Like he took away their protective statuses. So he told them basically they need to self-deport immediately or they're going to come get them. And makes no sense. Cubans, especially the Cubans in Florida, did a whole big Cubans for Trump thing, and he won a big percentage of the Cuban vote, and he just backstabbed them. He's he's running like he doesn't have to face the voters again. Like he's
Yeah.
done. But I don't think he understands. Like Republicans have to face the voters again,
He
and
doesn't care about anybody but himself. That's the problem.
he would think he'd care about the midterms because like if the Democrats retake the House, they're gonna just make his life a living hell. Like, they're not gonna be able to do
I
much, but
I think he's already assumed that he's going to lose the midterm, and he's just going to push everything he possibly can through to get billion to make his billionaire friends richer, him and his billionaire friends richer.
and then just
And
stonewall every investigation.
yeah, I think he's going to do all that, and then he's like after the midterms, it's all kind of over at this point
Okay.
for him, and he doesn't care about the Republicans because he's not really a Republican. He's always only been a self-interest
Yeah.
politician or human being all of his life. So like he just doesn't care.
Well, it's a shame. I'm a little worried, but
Oh, me too.
yeah. So anyhow, hopefully Republicans take it back, and if they I hope somebody's taking notes right now because already we're 60 days into this administration, and the amount of investigations they could open up are astounding. Especially the one today with the whole signal war planning going on, the detention flights that got moved out to the El Salvador jail. Like, there's a lot they can investigate. So we'll see how that goes. I'm
It's gonna be
still
an interesting 2 years. And I mean, after the midterms, like there's a really good chance he gets impeached for all
No,
this
well,
stuff.
so they'll impeach him, but he won't get convicted. But they'll definitely impeach him
Why?
again because you got to have 67 votes in the Senate. So you need probably realistically 14 or 15 Republicans to vote to impeach.
I mean, if he keeps doing what he's doing, do you think there's not going to be enough Republicans to flip
I,
on
don't,
him?
I thought after January 6th there definitely were, and then there weren't. I
They
honestly
flipped for a day.
I
They
thought
did
the
flip for a
Ukraine
day.
phone call was enough to get 7 or 8 of them, and it wasn't. So, I mean,
Hmm,
yeah, I mean, you're giving too much faith to these Republican senators. And also,
that's true.
I'll just throw
They're
it out there again,
spineless.
though. I think, and this is scary, but okay, let's say they get the House and then they impeach Trump within a month. Okay, now we've got almost 2 years left of JD as president, and I think JD would be way more effective at what he wants to do than Trump is.
I think they're being pretty effective right now with getting what they want.
Yeah. Like I said, I think JD would keep the focus, whereas Trump can't help but cause distractions left and right. So JD
I
would.
think it's part of his plan, bro.
Okay, well, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think there's any way that he actually gets convicted. He might
And
get impeached, but
If JD's the one saying like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't bomb these Yemenis,"
that's the one thing is he didn't want to start a new foreign conflict. So props
maybe he's a
props
better
to JD.
option.
I don't say anything good about JD ever, but props to him for that.
Oh, oh my
Um,
gosh! By the way, have
okay.
you seen the JD memes on like Instagram?
Oh, which ones? I'm scared to ask.
Okay, so there's this thing, it's like bloated JD, and it keeps
Uh,
popping up all over my
I've
Instagram,
seen
and
it.
I was like, what is this? Who is this?
Just him
And
with a chubby
finally I
face.
like read one of the things and it was like said something about JD. So then I like looked up JD again, meme, and then I figured it out. I was like,
Yeah,
it
I've
was so
seen a couple of
weird.
those. Yeah. Oh, by the way, your governor. Sorry, before we get into the last thing, your governor here. Did you see how he pissed off Trump? He's blaming the governor. I don't know how the governor really has anything to do with it. But
Paulus?
Trump, yeah, I know your governor. What is it? Yeah, Polis. Is that his name?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So apparently, in the state house in Denver, they have portraits of all the presidents. Have you seen
Yeah,
the portrait of Trump?
it's fine. Yeah.
He tweeted about it today. He had a
I
lengthy
saw it
statement about how upset he is about it.
last night at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, he's very upset. And to me, it's honestly a pretty realistic like look at Trump, but he doesn't like it. Doesn't make him look chiseled and handsome like the other photos, the other paintings. So
Oh, you know what that brought me to? So, and let's go back to this. So, it's actually an artist, and she's done like the last 4 or 5 or however many presidents,
Trump
and
even
she's
said
good.
he was like, she did Obama's and that came out great. I don't know what happened with mine. So probably she
No,
hates him. I'm gonna go on a limb and say she doesn't like him, and she probably didn't think is very good.
yeah, but he doesn't look fit and chiseled like he normally does.
Yeah.
But have you heard about this thing about Putin sending Trump a painting of Trump? And that's
Steve Witkoff, the guy that the special envoy is the guy who said that. That yeah, I think Steve
okay.
Witkoff brought it back with him from one of the meetings with Putin. We haven't seen it
Mm,
yet, but yeah. He also said that Putin on the day that Trump got almost shot in the ear, that Putin went straight to a church and prayed for President Trump and this and that. And I'm just like, man, Putin's smooth. Putin's playing everybody. So okay, cool, whatever. Anyhow,
whatever.
yeah. So last thing before our political leaning test, I don't want to spend much time on Elon, but Elon, it came out today, is in line to get billions in new government contracts, 42 billion to be exact, for a rural broadband program. Here's the rub on this. So let me just say this: if Elon had nothing to do with government, and I heard that, hey, we're going to spend 42 billion for rural broadband, getting good broadband internet to the people that live out in the middle of nowhere, Starlink is the obvious choice. Like, really, I mean, it is. Now, what sucks is because Elon is in government, it creates a bad appearance. It creates an appearance of favoritism to Elon or corruption or whatever it is. But if he wasn't in government, if they said, "Hey, we're doing rural broadband and Starlink's going to be it," that makes sense. Me and you both know a guy that lives over on the other side of your state, lives out in the middle of nowhere, and he's had Starlink for the last 2 years, and he's constantly telling me about his upload and download speeds and how awesome they are. Great internet. So,
Hmm.
like, I want to get mad about that because there is a law, a rule or a law that it's a criminal statute basically that government employees are not allowed to do anything that it will increase their bottom line, like it put money in their bank accounts. If it has anything to do with affecting them in any way, they have to be out of it. And it's one of those where it's like, do you believe at all that Elon is not involved in this, new government contract? Like it's
Yeah, but Colorado's been doing the rural broadband thing for like since I moved here. That was like a big thing when I first moved here. Was like Hickenlooper was trying to get internet to the rural
So
communities,
that was part of
and
Biden's Build Back Better. That was a big part of it.
uh,
But they didn't use Starlink. They were trying to run fiber optic out to the middle of
yeah,
nowhere, and it's more expensive than doing Starlink. Honestly, from the things I read, it seems like Starlink would be the right play in these situations. So,
sure. I mean, we still have to pay for it.
oh
Like,
yeah, we do. And Elon's going to make money. He's personally going to profit from this. Anyhow.
yeah,
And then the other thing, the military announced, and I think this was yesterday, that they are allocating, it was a couple $1 billion to build him new launch pads at his star base in Texas. Oh, sorry. My fire's gone. There's an eyeball.
fire's gone.
Hold on. There we go. Fire's back. But they're allocating a couple $1 billion to build him new launch pads at his facility in Starbase, Texas, which is actually on federally protected lands. But anyhow, so
Right.
Elon's getting several to almost 50 new $1 billion, depending on how this goes. So yeah, so go Elon. Even though his stock
What?
is tanking, he's gonna be Elon's gonna be fine for the next 4 years. And then the problem is going to be in 4 years if a Democrat somehow wins, which right now ain't a sure thing at all. But if a Democrat wins, I have a feeling the payback will be Elon losing all of his government subsidies. And at that point, the left will probably still hate him. So that's when the problem comes in for Elon. He'll still have billions to settle back on. He just won't be
Maybe.
continuing. Probably so. if he stopped everything he's doing right now and just went away to a secluded island, he's the richest man in the world for the rest of his life. Like he's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, he
But
should. Which is what he
anyhow,
should do.
I do think this is the last thing I'm gonna say about this, but Trump did all this stuff where he broke the norms his whole first term, and then Biden came in and said, "Hey, I'm going to get us back to the norms. Okay, I'm not going to do the crazy shit." And I wanted
Yeah.
that. I told you that's the reason I wanted Biden is I want to get back to the norms. I'll tell you
Yeah.
this: the Democrats aren't going to take a candidate who's going to get back to the norms. They want somebody who's going to do exactly what Trump did to them. They want to do it back to the Republicans. And I got to say, at this point, I think they should. I hate to say that. But if they try to do a whole back to the norms in 2028, then next guy is just going to go back to do it. So if the other side's
Yeah.
going to do this, you kind of have to also. And I hate to say that, but I kind of think the Democrats need
It's
somebody
going
who's
to
going
take
play
a
it safe.
decade to get back to the norms at this point.
I don't think there's ever any going back to the norms. I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
happen. So
Did you see that the Grimes, Elon's ex?
oh, what did I haven't seen anything
Did I,
about her.
did I send that to you? Oh my
No.
gosh. Um, I'll find it. Hold on. I might have saved it for later, but let's see. It was pretty good because she just totally called Elon out. Um,
A couple of his baby mamas all at once were calling him out. It was Grimes, Ashley St. Clair, and then that other lady. I can't remember her name, but yeah, they were all very unhappy with him.
so here's hers. It's sexuality and kinks are simply different from everyone. Many Fortune 500 CEOs enjoy being pegged. It shouldn't change your opinion of them. Some even record it. Even if those videos were to leak, seeing a successful automaker or social media owner being ruthlessly destroyed shouldn't be one end of his career, and that person definitely shouldn't be mad at his ex because it was her video that got uploaded.
So basically, she's threatening him. Oh, that's amazing. With she says she has a video of her pegging him, and
Yeah.
she's basically threatening to release it.
Not only pegging, but destroying him.
That's so dangerous though, because like where we're at today, like I wouldn't be horribly shocked if Grimes is found dead tomorrow. Like that's just kind of one of those where
I bet she's pretty rich, right?
I mean, she's the mother of Elon's children. I'll bet he can get to her. I don't know. That's it takes. I'm just gonna say it takes balls to do that. Way to go, Grimes. But you should
Yeah.
probably hire extra security at this point because
Yeah, I think so.
you're threatening to destroy the richest man in the world, who's the richest and most powerful man in the world, pretty much. So
I'm kind of curious as to why she did that. Like, I would imagine they're feuding and she doesn't like what he's doing to the country.
I don't know if it has so much to do with what he's doing to the country, but she's probably. It seems like most of them are mad about the fact that he's not helping with his children right now, except for there's the one that his name is
Yeah.
X. I don't know whose kid he is, honestly. I don't
He's
know.
using him as a human shield.
Pretty much, yeah. And I don't know which baby mama he's with. I keep seeing old people that I know on Facebook are reposting some stupid account where it's like, here's Elon with his family, and it's him with like a made up AI woman and like a child, and then like the comments are all these boomer Trump people that are like, Elon's one of the greatest Americans, and it's just like, y'all know he's not married and has several baby mamas, right? Like, how do they not
Yeah.
know that? But apparently they don't. So.
Is Grimes the one he has because he has like a uh trans kid, right? Like a trans
So
girl.
that was not any of the ones we've talked about. That's a lady that is not famous or
That's a
anything.
different one.
And that's the
Okay.
child that he says passed away or died. She was killed by the woke mind virus. That girl actually gets on Amazon too and talks crap about Elon. I've seen
Yeah.
her post before.
Good for her.
Crazy. Okay, you want to get into a political leanings test?
Oh yeah, we're gonna do this test?
Are you
All right.
are you going to do it for me on your side or
No, I said we both just do it together.
okay?
As long as the questions are symbiotic, we can do it.
All right. Whenever you get to the first question, let me know.
Okay, let's see.
I hope I end up in the middle. That's where I'm trying to end up.
You're trying to end up in the middle? Well,
Yeah.
you can't try. You gotta like
I'm trying
actually
to
answer
trying
the
to read
questions properly. That's why I wanted to do it together.
Okay. And we can discuss the questions. There's 16 of them, it looks like.
Okay, 16.
Okay.
If you had
so,
to choose, would
No,
you rather have, is that what you have?
Yep. You go ahead and
Okay.
read it.
If you had to choose, would you rather have a smaller government providing fewer services, a bigger government providing more services?
I'm a smaller government guy. I've told you that for a while. I'd like him to do things and do it well, but I don't think the government should be as big as it is.
So you like what Elon and Trump are doing by making the government smaller?
I would like what Bill Clinton did in the 90s or what Obama talked about at one point, and that would be like surgically, strategically, and in a way it makes sense, downsizing the federal government. Not the way they're doing it right now. I've told you from the start I would be down for trimming some of the fat with our federal government, our federal budget, but I think it has to be done really smart and has to be done with do some studies, really look into it. Here's where we can cut. Here's where two jobs can be made into one. I think that I'm sure you've known other people. I've known people that are city workers and they like make fun of how stupid they're like, I get paid to do nothing. If I show up, I get paid. And, I don't have enough to keep me busy all day. Like I know that happens at the city level. So I really believe it happens at the federal level too. So I think it should be a lot more compassionate and it should be surgical and it should be truly eliminating waste. I don't think what they're doing right now is eliminating waste, but overall, would I like to see the federal government and the federal budget be smaller? Absolutely.
This is smaller government providing fewer services.
Yeah, but doing it well.
What services would you cut?
I don't know. I'd have to see a big list of them.
I don't think there's a lot of like even through what Elon and them are doing and they're like arguing, like if you look at what they're arguing, like there's maybe a couple things worth a couple $1 million that I would agree with. But
if there was an answer here that said a smaller government providing the same services, that's the one I'd go with. But there's not that option. It's either a smaller government with fewer services or a bigger government with more. I don't want any more services. But that'd be my sweet spot. So next question. Yeah. I'm guessing you're going bigger government, more services, right?
No, I would agree with you. I don't want a smaller government with fewer. I want the middle. I'm in the middle of the road on this.
Yeah, there's not a middle, so you got to pick one or the other on this.
I'll go bigger government, more services. I don't think we need to cut any services. That's what I'm going.
I definitely don't think we need more.
Here we go. I like this. Okay.
I'm going to read this one. Which of the following statements come closest to your view? America's openness to people from all over the world is essential to who we are as a nation, or America is too open to people from all over the world. We risk losing our identity as a nation. I'm definitely going to say the first one. I'm a believer America is a melting pot. Our what is it? Our diversity is our strength, like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I'm a sucker for like the whole, bring me your tired, your poor, your, huddled masses yearning to be free. Like our ancestors escaped a worse off place to come here looking for better opportunities for them and their children. Like, I think that should still be open to everybody. So for me, that's the first one.
Yeah. I'm for, yeah. Yeah. So interesting enough, mine actually dropped down and I got a second question for this one before we moved on. And it says, when you say you favor a bigger government providing more services, do you think it would be better to A, modestly expand on current government services, or B, greatly expand on current government services?
Hold on, I'm going to go back now. Hold on.
So why would mine, yeah.
I just want to see, I messed up. Hold on, start the quiz. I'm going to say okay, hold on. Mostly expand on current government services. Greatly expand. So no, or modestly or greatly. I'm going to still go back and I'm going to say smaller government for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go modestly expand because I don't want to greatly expand.
Yep. Okay, so question 2.
I don't even want to expand.
So question 2, we both think that openness to people from all over the world is essential to who we are as a nation. So question 3, you got this one.
Which of the following statements come closest to your views? Oh, American owes to. Okay.
So we got different questions here.
Which?
Hold on, are you on 2 or 3?
I'm on 2.
Okay, sorry, I already did 2. You go ahead with that one.
All of them essentially, yeah. Okay. In general, would you say experts who study a subject for many years are usually better at making good policy decisions about their subject than other people? B, usually worse at making good policy decisions about that subject than other people? Neither better nor worse at making. I'm going to say better.
I feel like that's common sense. Yeah, if you're an expert in that field, you would make better policy decisions.
Where are they going with this? How does that?
I think they're talking like the doctors that, in their opinion, made such terrible moves during COVID. I think you could find people there that said, no, don't trust the experts. In fact, I've heard people say the experts don't know what they're doing. So that's those people. I trust the experts. I'm sorry, I'm still there. So question 4. Thinking about increased trade of goods and U.S. services between the U.S. and other nations in recent decades, would you say the U.S. has gained more than it has lost because increased trade has helped lower prices and increase competitiveness of some U.S. businesses, or the U.S. has lost more than it has gained because increased trade has cost jobs in manufacturing and other industries and lowered wages for some U.S. workers. I wish there was an in between there, but I'd be tempted to go with the first one. It's gained more because our economy, we were a manufacturing economy 100 years ago, 50 years ago, we were. We're not. We're a
Mm-hmm.
service economy now, and it's working all
Totally.
right for us. And we all want the cheapest goods possible, and we can get the cheapest goods possible from overseas. If we did what the second one's saying, basically bring back all those manufacturing jobs here, make things in America, cost of goods would go up. Now, wages would go up for those people in manufacturing jobs, hopefully, but the cost of goods would
Yeah.
go up more than those wages. So, like I said, the fact that we're a service economy, I would say that overall, trade has been good for us. It's lowered the
I agree with
prices,
you on that
increased
one. Yep.
competitiveness. Yeah. So, all right,
I agree.
you got number five here.
All right. How much more, if anything, needs to be done to ensure equal rights for all Americans, regardless of their racial or ethnic backgrounds? A lot. B, a little. C, nothing at all.
I'm going to say a little here, and obviously we have more work to do, but I mean, I'd say we've come a damn long way in the last 50 years as far as equality for different races. So I feel like if I said a lot, I'd be saying, "Oh, we haven't hardly scratched the surface." No, I think they've realistically, if you look back at
Well,
movies from the 70s or 80s, you can see the difference in where we're at today. There's still work to be done.
yeah, because it says racial or ethnic backgrounds, I would say a little. But if it actually went into like sexual orientation and stuff like that, I would say a lot. Because I
That's a
feel like
new
the right
thing.
has really gone after the trans
Yeah.
over the last
But when it
few
comes to
years.
hey, let me just say this. I think it's if you gave me the choice today at birth of whether I'd rather be a white man in America or a black man in America, I think it's clearly more advantageous to be white, like clearly. But a black guy born today versus a black guy born in the 60s, clearly things are much better today than they were for the black guy in the 60s. Clearly. So we've come a long way. There's still room to go. So I'm with I say a little on that. You say the same?
I'm agreeing with you on that one. Yep.
All right. Question six. Which of the following statements comes closest to your view? Business corporations make too much profit, or most corporations make a fair and reasonable amount of profit. I'm going to go first. Businesses are making too much profit. I think that there should be, I don't even know how to say this right. When you find out, like Walmart's a perfect example. Walmart workers who get paid minimum wage and rely on food stamps to make ends meet, and then you've got the CEOs taking home millions of dollars a year. Like there needs to be a way to even that out. And I don't know
Well, it's
how.
not even just their CEOs. It's like their shareholders are making millions of dollars a year from
So
each.
they are, but here's the rub though, is I don't necessarily want the government to get in and dictate how that's fair, how that's made more fair. I don't see any other way, and I think it would have to be that way. But like in my knee-jerk reaction is like I don't want the government telling businesses how they have to handle their profit, just in general. But
No, it's a sliding tax scale
yeah,
like we had.
and like
So
though, real
so
quick,
we
the
go ahead.
non-government intervention way to fix that would be unions. Empower the workers, better unions, and there are certain states that make it hard for unions to form. So I wish the government would get out of the way and let the workers do this on their own.
When do you think the best time in American history was for growth,
Well,
expansion and growth, and like
I'm
when
going to
we
say the Industrial Revolution, like that period of time. That's when America started booming.
so it was the Industrial Revolution before we had child tax laws or child labor laws?
No, I think that we had children working in these manufacturing places. I believe.
So right after that, when they did put the children in the labor laws in effect,
Okay.
there was a point in time when, because I think that you're talking about when the last oligarchy was, right? Or when the last
The Gilded Age, yeah, the
the Gilded
Rockefellers and
Age,
yeah,
when everybody had all the money, or a few people had so much money and everybody else had
yeah.
nothing. But after that, once we fought back, and I forget what the range was, but it was like I think it was like the 40s, 50s.
There's that part of it was the New Deal put on by Roosevelt that kind of helped spike what you're about to talk about.
Yeah, Roosevelt was part
Yeah.
of it. But anyway, during that time, we had the most growth in economic history. Like everybody was able to afford to be a middle class citizen. But anybody that made $499 million dollars, more
Million
than
or
four, yeah, well, $499 million dollars was taxed 90% on the
yeah,
rich.
the marginal tax rate in the 50s.
Or
Margin.
yeah, anything over 499 was taxed 90%.
Let me see here. Yeah, the marginal tax rate, top was 91%. The effective tax rate was really 42 to 45%. But yeah, the back in the day, back when America was truly great in a lot of people's minds, the rich were getting taxed out the wazoo. And it really they started to come down slowly, but then Reagan was the first one to really take the axe to
Yep.
that, and that was trickle down economics, voodoo economics. But up until Reagan, the rich were paying their more than their fair share, and then things were
Yep.
working out pretty good for America at that point. So,
Yeah.
and really,
Yep.
what it comes down to is the government still needs a certain amount of money to operate. So, if you're going to tax the rich less, that money's now got to come from the lower classes more. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the balance of it.
I mean, imagine if we text Elon after $1 billion
Yeah.
dollars.
Well, that's what
Everything after a billion.
I know Republicans hate this, but I think several people have suggested it. I've heard Bernie talk about it, but like after you hit $1 billion, like you should be taxed at, whatever it is, or after 500 million, whatever it is. But I do
Yeah.
kind of see, I agree with that. Like, yeah, you get taxed at, 30%, 40%, whatever it is, up until $500 million. But then after that, it jumps up and you get taxed a lot more on that. Anything over $500 million. Like,
Well, I think Bernie's saying is there should not be billionaires. Like,
yeah, nobody needs to be a billionaire, but
yeah.
it's that whole we talked about it recently, but like with Elon and the other guys, like it turns into an addiction. Like you want to be the
Uh,
richest. And anyhow,
yeah.
question 7: how much, if at all, would it bother you to regularly hear people speak a language other than English in public places in your community?
None. Absolutely none at all.
I don't want to be honest here.
Did it make you upset to
It
hear
it
people
depends.
speaking Spanish again?
It depends on the language. I don't know how I want to be really nice here, but it depends on there are certain languages that when I hear in public, they hurt my ears and I become very Republican all of a sudden. And I get into this mode of I don't say it out loud, but I get into this mode where I'm like, go back to your country and speak that awful language. It's the ones that are there's certain languages that are abrasive to my ears. Not all of them. There's some. I'm going to answer honestly here, and I'm going to say some. The
Okay.
answer is a lot, some, not much, and not at all. And I'm going to say some.
All right. Are you
Sorry.
gonna watch the Dukes of Hazzard later?
What's the Dukes of Hazzard? No, that's I'm not that race. So there's one language in particular that just irritates the heck out of me. And I used to work in retail and I used to work in a part of town that had a high percentage of a certain ethnic group, and they would come in and just start barking orders at me in their native language. And I think it scarred me for life.
What is this?
I don't want to say what group. This is way back when I was in my early 20s.
All
So
right.
yeah, a certain part of Arlington, Texas is all I'll say.
Yeah. All right.
Anyhow, you can get number 8 here.
All right. On a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means you feel as cold and negative as possible, and 100 means you feel as warm and positive as possible, how do you feel toward, and there's two questions. How do you feel toward Democrats? How do you feel towards Republicans?
I don't like this question because I feel like this is pretty much
It
the whole
just gives
test
you
right
the
here.
answer. Yeah.
You know what? So here's the thing. I'm trying very hard to be an independent here and to make this not be biased. I'm going to say 50 on both. So right in the middle on both. Because right now there's not a lot of Democrats I like and there's fewer Republicans, but I'm going to say 50% on both because I don't want this to factor too much into my answer.
I'm going 70-30.
So okay, you do that. I feel 50-50.
Okay.
All right, next question. I'll get this one. Number 9. Which of these statements best describe your opinion about the United States? The U.S. stands above all other countries in the world, or the U.S. is one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others, or there are other countries that are better than the U.S. I'm going to say number 2. The U.S. is one of the greatest countries in the world, along with some others. I mean, no matter how much we get down about our country, everybody, almost every, not everybody, but in most of the countries around the world, people would give up what they have in a second to get to come to America. Not all of them. Now, yeah, there's some of the Nordic countries where I think they would laugh and they'd be like, "I'm not going to America."
Did you
Yeah.
see the happiness I guess a happiness poll that just came out?
So apparently, people in Mexico are happier than us now.
Oh, way happier. They've been happier, I think. We're
Yeah.
like 30. We're at like 30 on the list in
I
happiness.
I
We're
still
bad in education, we're bad in healthcare, we're bad in almost every metric that actually counts. And then you go to like obviously Denmark, Sweden, Norway, all those Nordic countries, like they're on the top six
yeah.
of the list of happiness. But
I think
I think it's
America's in a
because
bad spot right now, but there's a chance to come out of it. I hope to God. But I still say I think if you polled people, and I think in 95% of the other countries in the world, they would happily come to America. I think we take for granted what we have here, and that's part of my thing with MAGA.
I
That's
don't
so
think you're right. I think like Europeans, I think all the Europeans are fine where they're at. They'd rather live there than they want to visit the United States. Everyone wants to
yeah.
visit, just like we want to visit Europe, but I think they'd rather stay in England or France or
I
wherever.
don't know. I think to a degree you're right because the whole like Reagan talked about the shining city on a hill, and America, how great America is, and I don't feel like we're that anymore. But I still say that a lot of people around the world, the majority of people around the world, would want to come to America. I do.
If you're poor, yes.
Yeah, if you're poor, and the thing is, in America, anybody has a chance to to go from poor to being successful and rich, and
That's not true.
all it takes is getting lucky for the most part. I don't want to say it takes
That's not
hard
true.
work.
Oh, you mean like winning the jackpot, the lottery
Yeah,
jackpot?
it takes luck.
Yeah, that's not true.
I think it's
That's
more luck than skill. But no, that's my answer. Is it's one of the greatest countries along with some others. What do you say?
I'm going with there are other countries that are better than the United States.
Okay, I feel like the
Like
far left
all of the
and
Nordic countries are probably way better than the United States.
I feel like the far left and the far right would both answer that there's other countries better. They don't like what's happening here. That's what I'll say this real quick. That's what irritates me. And it started with MAGA back in like 2015 when they elected Trump. And it's like, America sucks. Like Obama has ruined this country. And it's like, I
Oh
think
yeah.
we all forgot like how good we have it here. Like America, it's not that awful living here. And then now
No, we're fine.
no, but then the Democrats are in the same spot where they're like, this is out like you talked about at the Bernie rally, where people are pissed and things are awful. And it's like, let's all take a step back and realize that we are in America, and a lot of people would really happily trade places with us. Okay, I'm not saying things are
Andy,
perfect.
Andy, you're fine where you live, right? And
Okay, I'm
like,
not. You saw how bad my state ranks in everything.
right, but you're
Okay.
you and your family, you're fine. But like, there's a lot of people in your state that are living like third world country style,
Oh yeah, you go
like
like a mile
burning
from my house.
tires in their
Yeah.
backyard, and like, yeah,
It's surprisingly right down the street from me. Like I drive by it
there's a
constantly.
lot of people
Yeah,
in, yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, and that's third world country style, and those people would happily move to another country if they could live a better life.
And let me ask you this. I don't know the answer to this, but if you were going to be poor in any country around the world, would you rather be poor in America or poor somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Somewhere that has
Someone
free
with,
healthcare?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's the only thing. If free healthcare, yes. But other than that, I
I'd
mean,
rather be poor in Canada than poor here, or
yeah.
poor in, yeah,
The free
or
healthcare
even
matters a
like,
lot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
healthcare matters a lot.
Okay. Question number 10. How much of a problem, if any, would you say each of the following are in the country today? Okay, the first one is people being offended or people being too easily offended by things others say. Is it a major problem, a minor problem, or not a problem? I think it's a minor problem. I think that it's only a problem among people on the internet for the most part.
Offended by things others say.
People being offended, not the things people are saying, but people getting offended by it.
Yeah, it's a minor problem.
Minor
I'm going
problem.
with that.
The other
Yeah.
thing is people saying things that are very offensive to others. I think it's a minor problem. I overall agree with free speech. I think that
Yeah.
here, my wife got to have a conversation with somebody real recently where they were talking about how hateful the Democrats are, and they can't imagine a Republican being this hateful towards the Democrats. And I was like, oh, like I wish I was there because like I can think of so many examples.
Yeah.
But overall, like the whole time that the "Let's Go Brandon" chant was going on
Oh,
and
yeah.
F Joe Biden, like I thought it was stupid. I don't remember ever being like, "Hey, they need to stop saying that." Like I never thought that. I think it's stupid. You're showing
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
showing some
and
stuff about yourself.
it was right after Trump was in office, and people were saying "fuck Trump," and they were like, "You can't say that. He's our president."
Yep.
And it was the exact same people that were saying "fuck Joe Biden," and it's like,
Exactly.
oh,
So I think
yeah,
both sides are not clean on this one. But I think overall, I think it's still a minor issue because if I were to say major issue, then in my mind, if you say major issue, you're saying, hey, we need to do something about this. And no, I think
no,
what makes America great is if you don't agree with the president or the government or whatever else, you can say it out loud on YouTube for
yep,
everyone to hear that I think that our current administration is stupid and I hate them and blah, blah, blah. You can say all that you want. A lot of countries around the world you cannot do that in. I like the fact that we can do that here. It's scaring me that I don't think at any point Trump's going to officially take that away, but it scares me that they're trying to use scare tactics and fear and whatever else to try to get people to not say bad things about them. The newspapers, law firms going against them.
um,
Um, I think there might
Elon banning people on Twitter.
yeah, and even just going after people, like going after people and trying to get
Yeah.
the mob to harass them into silence.
Or
So
or telling everybody they're either going to sue them, like
yeah,
suing the
yep,
when you sue your the news organizations for or even threatening to sue the news organizations, you're basically telling them like
yeah.
stop talking about me that way.
Yep. So I think that's more of a problem than people saying offensive things. So that's where I'm at
Yeah,
on that one. So all
yeah.
right, we're almost through this. Number 11, you take it.
All right, which comes closer to your view of candidates for political office, even if neither is exactly right? I usually feel like A, there is at least one candidate who shares most of my views. B, none of the candidates represent my views well.
I'd say the first one. There's at least one candidate that represents most of my views. There's
I
always
don't
a
like,
there's
I'm
always
going
a
none.
thing or two I don't like. But I'm a centrist guy, so I've had a centrist left the last two elections to point at and be like, ah, that's close enough. Whereas you're a
Yeah,
far left, you haven't had anybody that's really done what
yeah,
you want. Yeah.
Bernie was in there for a
So
minute.
I think you'd be right to say none of the candidates represent your views. I am different. I feel like I've had a centrist type person in there.
Free healthcare and free education,
Like
bro.
next election, if I get Bernie versus MAGA, then I'll be in your boat going, I don't like either of these. So,
We're
all
not gonna
right.
get Bernie.
Number
Yeah.
12. In general, how much, oh man, how much do white people benefit from advantages in society that black people do not have? I just talked about this. The options are a great deal, a fair amount, not too much, or not at all. I'm going to say a fair amount.
That's what I'm doing.
I wish there was something in between a fair amount and not too much. But I'm going to say a fair amount. Like I said, I think
I,
we've had great strides in everything race related in this country. I think there's still room to go. And like I
yeah,
said, I'm going to re-say it. If I had the choice today to walk around this world or walk around this country, white or black, I'll take white. I'll re-up on that every chance I get. Things will be a little bit easier.
yeah, but what is it? I mean, what's it called when you're born into a situation? Um,
Luck.
no, there's a term for it. I'm blanking on it right now. But like we talked about the people down the street from you who were
Yeah.
poor white people. It's hard for them to lace up their bootstraps and get out there and start hustling and making that money when you're living in a state that has the worst education. People, you were born poor. It's hard to
Yeah.
succeed from that, right? Not everybody's Jay-Z.
Even here's what I'll say, and this is a total I'm stereotyping or whatever you want to call it. This isn't true in all cases, okay? But if the cops get called to that poor white trash family down the street, they're going to have less of a chance of getting shot than if they get called to a poor black house. And it's just
Yeah.
something where cops are afraid. I don't know why. There's probably some psychology behind it, but when they come face to face with a black dude that's upset and kind of being a little crazy, they are more afraid in that situation than they are if it's a white guy acting upset and being a little crazy. I don't know why. It just seems that way. I don't think cops accidentally kill black people more than white people because of a hatred of black people. I think a lot of times it's fear. I think they were afraid. They probably weren't trained enough to be in the situation they were in. They got scared and they did something to
Where
protect
does that
themselves.
fear stem from?
TV and every movie growing up where if there was a black guy in it, he was the drug dealer, hoodlum black guy. And somebody said this the other day, and it's right. But if there's a Russian in a movie ever, the Russian's the bad guy in almost every
Yeah,
movie, and that's kind
yeah.
of so. Yeah, that's and
Yeah.
they
Well,
Russians have
Well, and going back to education too, like the black communities have been stifled in education,
they have
like
inner city, and
ever
it's
since.
poor people. It's becoming poor people north. It used to be more that black people were in the inner cities and white people weren't, and the black people had worse schools. And now it's kind of getting to where it's a little more equitable. Where no, you've got poor white schools and poor black schools. The line is more divided on poor versus rich or poor versus wealthy than it is
Mhm.
black versus white. But there still is an element of I'd rather be white if I had the choice. I have nothing. I'm gonna make this very clear. I have nothing against black people. I'm just saying if you give me the choice, I think most black people would understand what I'm saying. It's a little easier if you're white. I don't think they would deny that. So I'm gonna say a fair amount there.
I don't
Do
know.
you think greater social acceptance of people who are transgender, people who identify as a gender that is different from their sex when they were registered as birth, is here's our options. Very good. Okay, the question was, do you think greater social acceptance of this is A, good for society, B, somewhat good for society, C, neither good nor bad for society, D, somewhat bad for society, and the last one is very bad for society. Yeah, this is going to be another one where you're not going to like my answer, but where are you at?
I I mean, I think it's good for society. Like I think everybody should accept everybody for who they are.
I'm in between somewhat good for society and neither bad nor good. Because honestly, my view on this is that it shouldn't be anybody's business and nobody should care either way. Like it shouldn't be anything we even talk about. If you want to be something different, awesome. We shouldn't even waste any time talking about it. Unless
Yeah, but
you want to
the opposite of social acceptance is hate.
I don't think there
But
should be
like
hate.
so change it around change it to where the opposite of
Okay.
social acceptance is a hatred.
Because of that, I'm going to say somewhat good for society because I don't think there should be any hatred. But again, unless they want to play a combat sport against a boy, I don't care. Good for you. I'm happy for you. I don't think we should talk about it. Hey, awesome. You be you, I'll be me. Have fun. I'm going to say somewhat good for society. But like I said,
Agreed.
I wish the answer, the whole like people when it comes to race that try to say, "Oh, I don't see in terms of color." I wish that it was that way with you. I don't care. Like you be
Well, I'm
whatever you
going
want
with
to be.
very good because I think everybody should accept everybody for who they are, like no matter what. Like I think
Yeah.
that would fix a lot of our problems in the world is if we just accepted people for who they are, whether they come from a different country, speak a different language,
And
have a
so
different skin tone, or a different sexual orientation. Like if we just like not that I'm gonna understand everything from that a transgender is going it's different. Yeah. Not that I'm going to understand everything that the transgender person is going through or like can put myself in their shoes very easily, but like I don't care. Like you want me to call you Zer? Okay.
No,
Okay, Zer.
so real quick, and
Cool.
I'm rereading the question. Do I think social acceptance is? And so I'm going to say yes, somewhat good for society.
Yeah.
Again, my whole thing is I wish that it was. I wish that it wasn't something we talked about a lot. If they want to do it, cool. And I wish that it wasn't a big deal. But
Yeah,
I'll
it
say,
shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it
yeah,
shouldn't be a good big deal. We should just accept people for who they are and not make it a big deal.
unless they're trying to screw you. And now, if you're a gay guy and you're trying to get in my pants, then we got a problem. You do
Hey,
you,
they
buddy.
do it very smoothly.
I'm just mad. I'm just mad that no gay guys ever tried to get in my pants. Am I not attractive?
You've never been hit on by a gay guy?
No, can I tell a real quick story? Me and my wife knew a lesbian couple that worked with us, and they had a party at their house, like a backyard barbecue. And neither of these lesbians knew how to run a grill, so they asked me if I would like cook the meat for the party, and I was like, absolutely. And then we got there, and it was nothing but gay and lesbian couples. Like we were the only straight couple there. And I made the joke. I was like, man, I'm gonna get upset if nobody hits on me here, like just jokingly to one of the ladies. And like 5 minutes later, I had one of the most flaming guys ever come up to me and just start being real flirty with me. And I was like, this is weird. And then it like they took turns. That for like an hour,
Uh,
I was the belle of the ball and I was getting hit on it by everybody. And legit, I was like, I'm looking good today. Like things are going well. And then at some point, I put it together and they admitted to it that they had then told all the gay guys there to hit on me to help my self
uh.
confidence. I was a little upset that they did that, but I'm not gonna lie. I was floating on that day, man. I felt amazing. Those guys were into me, even if they really
They
weren't.
know how to flirt too.
Dude, they were laying it on thick, and I'm not gonna lie. At no point did I feel uncomfortable. I just felt like, damn, my wife is lucky. If she had any clue how many of these gay guys want me, she would be anyhow. All right, next question. Overall, would you say people who are convicted of crimes in this country serve A, too much prison time, B, too little prison time, or C, about the right amount of prison time? Oh, I need more answers on this one.
Too much. I'm going too much.
Who are we talking about? Are we talking about, you know, everyday people in prison? Or are we talking about white collar criminals that get good lawyers and get off scot free or go to a fucking country club of a prison and play tennis all day?
No, we're talking about the people who get pulled over with weed in their car, or
Yeah.
the normal criminal who,
Okay. It doesn't say that. It just says,
non-violent criminals. Let's just go with non-violent criminals who aren't rich.
all right, I'm going to say too much time because we do have a problem with locking everybody up in this country. But I
Yeah,
do feel like I wish there was another option for like the white collar criminals that do financial crimes and get off in a country club of a prison. But
too little time. You want to put
yeah,
them
so
in
I'm,
for
I'm going to
life?
say too much. But yeah, like I said, if when Martha Stewart goes to jail, she's not worried about getting shanked.
No.
She's in a federal prison that's quite nice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Like
which of the
tennis.
following statements comes closest to your view? Religion should be kept separate from government policies, or government policies should support religious values and beliefs. I'm 100% the first one there. Religion should be kept
Yep.
separate from government policies. I don't even need to go into that. You
I
good?
agree with you.
Okay. Last one. In the future, do you think A, U.S. policy should try to keep it so America is the only military superpower, or B, it would be acceptable if another country became as militarily powerful as the U.S.? The Republican in me likes us being the superpower, so that for our security, so that nobody tries to screw with us. I don't mind being the world police. I honestly don't. I like being in the country that is the most powerful country that nobody's going to start a war with. Your
I do
thoughts?
too. I do too. I don't like the question at all, but I like living in the country who
Yeah.
is the world's superpower.
Like, nope.
I don't think that we're doing a good job of being the world police. We don't
No,
even police ourselves,
we're not right
or
now.
Israel
But
or Russia or anybody else. So
right now, my big fear that China is getting all the advantage when we're stepping back off the world stage, and soon China will be the military's main superpower. Like that scares the crap out of me. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say I like America. I like America
Did you
being the
see
only
did you
superpower.
see China like surrounded Australia the other day?
No, they're flexing. And we
Yeah.
don't have anybody's back anymore. And that's what China and Russia are going to start testing to see if we really have anybody's back, and I don't think we do. So, and what has Australia done to us? Nothing, but they need to learn to defend themselves. It's not our job to defend them, is what Trump's going to say. So, all right, I'm processing here. Let's see what I got.
I'm the outsider left.
Ooh, I'm a stressed sideliner. Me and 15% of the public is what they call a stressed sideliner. A stressed sideliner holds a mix of conservative and liberal views and are the least politically engaged typology group. That's not correct. Generally disconnected from politics and the two major parties, they vote at lower rates than most other typology groups. About 4 in 10 live in lower income households, and they are the most likely to describe their personal financial situation as only fair or poor. Stress sideliners are split evenly between Republican and Democrats, while 1 in 10 don't lean toward either party. They lean liberal on economic issues until conservative on. Man, I feel like that's not right at all. Liberal on
I don't
economic.
feel like that was a great test, but it's fine.
Yeah, so that was the Pew. I encourage everybody to do this. Pew Research Center. I looked at a couple of these earlier, and some of them were like clearly MAGA groups, and some of them were clearly like Democrat groups.
Yeah.
Pew, I thought would be the fair one, but yeah, I'm a stressed sideliner, which puts me right in the middle. But I don't
Yeah.
agree with that description at
Well, that's
all.
what you wanted. You want to be in the middle.
Yeah, where'd you say you were?
Outsider left.
What can you read a little bit on that one for me?
Outsider left are the youngest typology group. They hold liberal views on most issues, particularly on issues of racial equality and immigration, and overwhelming vote Democratic. They are more skeptical of government performance than other Democratic-oriented groups, though far less so than those in GOP-oriented groups. While they aren't particularly happy with the Democratic Party, they also have deeply negative views of the GOP. Though roughly nearly half of outsider left describe their own political views as liberal, only about 3 in 10 identify as Democrats. About half say they are independents who lean toward the Democratic Party.
I feel like that describes me more. I think I should have been in your group.
I mean, that's me pretty much.
Yeah, I
I
saw.
would like to see what this progressive left is because that's interesting.
Yeah, it's only. Can you click on it? No. Well, yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, you can do a drop down. Progressive left. Here we go. Progressive left, the only majority white, non-Hispanic, Democratic-oriented political typology group, have very liberal views on virtually every issue and support far-reaching changes to address racial injustice and expand the social safety net. I feel like these are like the rich white women that are like woke, that are like, yeah,
Oh
we need
yeah,
to save black. Like those people annoy
yeah,
the
yeah.
shit out of me.
Open borders.
Yeah, those people annoy the shit out of me. I'm glad you're not in that group. They feel less warmingly towards the Democratic Party than the establishment liberals or the Democratic mainstays, but those who voted in the 2020 general election were nearly unanimous in their support for Joe Biden. They are the only group in which a majority say they like political leaders who identify as democratic socialists. So that's the Bernie Bros.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Bernie, so
Yeah.
Democratic
Anyhow,
Socialist.
I'm in the center.
That's
Like I
interesting.
thought you were right next to the center, which I find odd. I would have thought you would have been further left than that, but it's good to know. Good to know you're only super left in your
Well,
vocals.
I feel like the Democratic mainstay is further center than where I'm at.
What is Democratic mainstays? Make up a larger
That's
share of the Democratic coalition than any other group, older than other Democratic oriented groups. They also have the highest share of black, non Hispanic adults. They generally favor policies that expand the social safety net and support higher taxes on corporations. But they have moderate tilt on other issues, including immigration and crime. So I feel like you should have been one further to the left, which is Democratic mainstay, and I should have been one further to the left, which is outsider left.
yeah, but
Just
I'm not. I'd never vote. I'm against the Democrats. That's the thing. I would never be a Democratic mainstay because I'm against it. I would be more of a. I don't think these are in order from left to like.
okay.
I
Let me
feel like
ask you
the
this.
outsider left should be on the other side of the Democratic mainstay.
Okay, Obama, Bush. Who would you have voted for?
Obama,
Obama, Romney,
Obama,
Hillary, Trump,
Hillary,
Biden, Trump,
Biden,
Kamala, Trump.
Kamala.
You just said I never vote for the Democrats. You said
Well,
that 30 seconds ago.
yeah, but if you put Bernie Sanders in any of those slots, I would have been Bernie Sanders every single
Okay, I'm just
time.
saying, but you also will consistently vote for the leftist person on the ballot when given a choice between left and right. You will consistently vote left. Correct?
Well, the right's crazy.
Okay, but you're making my point for me. So yes. So you kind of are a mainstay Democrat. I hate to tell you that, but you
But
kind
this
of
is what
are.
I'm saying is I think the outsider left should be on the other side of Democratic mainstays on that list. Like I feel like I'm farther left than the Democratic mainstay. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Just a second here. The establishment liberals. Hold liberal positions on nearly all issues and support an expanded role for government and a larger social safety net. They also hold liberal attitudes on issues of racial and ethnic equality. Establishment liberals are more likely than any other group to say that compromise is how things get done in politics. That's not you. About half say they are satisfied with the way things are going in the country today, and overwhelmingly, a majority say they approve of the job Joe Biden is doing as president. So this was before Biden was out. You might be
Okay.
more of an establishment liberal. So I think it's what you are. You're an establishment liberal, not a mainstay Democrat.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Okay. Well, told you I'm in the middle, buddy. I told you. Thinking I'm a lefty. How dare you?
whatever.
Yep.
So you're a stressed sideliner.
Yep. That's where I'm at. A stress out. But I'm like I said, that didn't match because I'm probably the most politically engaged person I know. So
Yeah.
that whole thing about not being engaged, I don't buy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right. Well, that's good. Got anything else you want to
Heck
chat
yeah.
about?
I think that was it. Yeah. I think
If
that's all I
anybody
had.
stuck around to watch this whole thing, congrats.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah, find us on Blue Sky. I don't know the name, but find us on Blue Sky. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And Docs, I will
Solve for
talk to you.
idiots.
I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, buddy. Later.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.